Hello, everyone. Just recording another video for us all in response to some news that we shared last weekend about Oli Preston coming to join us here in Bridlington. So this is like kind of a little introduction type video for Oli to say a little bit about himself, and I'm going to kind of quiz him a bit. Around some kind of, I'm sure, some of the questions that you all would want to be asking him. Hello, Oli. It's good to see you.
Hello, Mark. Thank you. Yeah.
Now, we've known each other for probably 4 years, maybe.
I think it would be coming on 4 years. Yeah.
So we met at a new wine event called Inspire over in Thirsk. You were part of a team that a friend of mine, Mark Tanner, had set up from Cranmer Hall, where you were training for ordination.
Yep.
And that team, you guys joined me in hosting a venue for that weekend, which was great fun.
It was fantastic. Yeah.
And, we had a lot of laughs and learnt quite a lot together, I think. During that time,
and then, you helped set up a placement for me as well. I think that was that same summer. Yeah. I did a few days with you in Harrogate, and you then linked me up with a few other leaders of kind of fresh expression type communities across the north.
Yeah, that's right. So that was kind of probably, was it 6 months later or something like that after the new one? I think, I don't know.
But, well, it's several years ago, Mark. Lots have happened since then. Yeah,
and a lot has happened since then.
A lot.
From Harrogate to Bridlington, you finished your training and ended up serving a curacy in around Manchester Diocese. I'll get you to know a bit about that in a moment. So just tell us a little bit more about yourself and any kind of interesting, juicy facts that people need to know about Oli Preston.
Okay, right. The juicy facts. So my name's Oli. I was born and grew up in Scarborough, just up the coast from Bridlington, and I was part of Ebenezer Baptist Church there when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Where my wife Joanne also grew up. So we're little young love sweethearts. We got together when I was 16, and we got married 3 years later. And not long after that, I'd been doing a youth ministry degree. Joe had been doing English literature with educational studies, and we had this real strong sense that God was calling us out, and we looked all around the world at where's God calling us to move to, where does he want us to serve, we'll go anywhere, and the Holy Spirit said to move to Birmingham, which we tested. But yeah, so we moved into Tamworth initially and then to Birmingham, and it was a rough few years. We not long after we landed, Joanne developed a long-term health condition, which we're still having to manage now. We had 4 different addresses in 3 years because we were financially not stable. We were looking around, relying on a lot of friendship and a lot of love from people. But we had a fantastic time. I ended up serving as a youth and schools worker in an Anglican church in Birmingham, and that is where I had this sense of call to ministry. And so, having just had our daughter, Betty, we moved up to Durham to come back north, and had a fantastic 3 years in Durham. We've now had 3 years in Bolton, and now after a 10-year exile, we're finally being allowed to move back to the promised land, back to the Yorkshire coast. So we're very excited. We're bringing our son Caden with us as well. He came to join us 2 years ago, and we're really excited. So there's the juicy facts is I've been a globetrotter, but I am a Yorkshire lad from just up the coast.
Brilliant. And so the ages of Betty and Caden are?
Betty's 6 and Caden is 2.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. And Ebenezer Baptist is really interesting because I'm friendly with the minister there, Neil Douglas, and we regularly meet. And
Oh, brilliant.
So got some good connections with Ebenezer Baptist that have developed over the last year or so, which is great.
Yeah,
Great to
it's
hear.
a great church. We've got a lot of really good friends still there, and I don't think I've ever actually met Neil, because we left just before Michael Glover, the previous pastor, retired.
Yeah, I remember.
And so we've got friends and family who are still connected with Ebenezer, but I've not had the opportunity because I've been working Sundays for the last.
Well, it's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, more years than I care to think.
So, okay, so clearly, you've mentioned about kind of, God guiding you and kind of following a sense of call. So just tell me a little bit about your relationship with Jesus. When were you first aware of connecting deeply with that with this person, Jesus, who is our Lord and and the one that we've chosen to follow? So
yeah. So as I said, I'd grown up going to Ebenezer, and I think was aware. I would have said I was a Christian. For me, it was when I hit my early teens that it really became something that I was going to own for myself, and made that kind of had that decision point. Is this something that I'm going to take seriously or not? At the time, I was really blessed to be part of a small group. We had a few of us who were similar age, and a youth minister there was fantastic in helping us to start working through that and start to learn and to own that faith that we'd just been around. And so really important points for me there were one evening, the evening service at Ebenezer, someone had been baptized, and we went and said to Michael Glover, the pastor, we want to be baptized. And he went, oh, I'm not sure about that. It's all a bit sudden. But he did say, well, you guys come into the study, and Steve, our youth worker, came in as well, and they prayed for us to be filled with the Holy Spirit, which was a really powerful time, and I think was really foundational then for my teenage growth. And we were baptized not that long later, after a little bit of prep and some more time to understand what that was going to mean there. I was involved in worship leading. That became something where it was not, again, just about something that was about knowing the right things, but about a real heart relationship and a whole life connection. And for me, that's always, it's always been something that I've felt called to live out in service, in terms of serving and caring for and being available to lead and shape communities of people, initially in youth work, and then realizing that actually God's got something bigger with this. But underneath it all, kind of knowing and following and serving, I think for me is that the deep knowledge in my gut, in something that I've not got words for, but which is an emotion that I know that God loves me. And that is the reason that I can do all this stuff. That's the reason that I don't fall apart when anxiety comes at me, and when I'm feeling, there's a lot here that's sitting on my shoulders maybe, and I'm not sure I'm up to it. Actually, that is my foundational understanding. Who I am is loved by God, and with that I can then follow Jesus, the best example of what it is to be a human being, the most radical, the most peaceful, the most beautiful, the most perfect life, and try and model that and be like that in this crazy world.
Wow, that's great. And certainly kind of links with my sense. Actually, fairly similar journey of hitting a point in teenage years when it was, yes, this is decision time, and just knowing in your knower that you're loved, and you're called, and that God's for you is a fantastic thing. So now, you've done a curacy in Bolton. So that means you being kind of is part of all the training that you kind of do. So a few more years, like on the job, kind of continuing to learn, and then as that finishes, you have a whole load of opportunities ahead, a whole load of options. You know, you can go off and kind of be a vicar somewhere. You can kind of, you know, there's a number of different routes you can take. And you've ended up coming to Bridlington.
I have. And not just for the beach. Not just for the beach. Yeah.
So just talk a little bit about that. And
so I mean, a really important part of my kind of feeling out how is God calling me, what shape does that have, was wrestling with the part of myself that is pioneering and that is about starting new things and exploring new opportunities and listening for where God's leading and going for it. And I think a lot of church ministry can be quite cautious about things like that. And the Church of England has done some really good work of trying to shape spaces for that and trying to put people in and give them the authority and the title. You know, you are a pioneer. And I decided not to go for a pioneer-specific track, partly because I think that the church needs more people who are pioneering but who don't have that label, so we can sneak in under the radar and do some crazy stuff. But that's, I think, as I've done my curacy, that's been something that's that I've recognised more and more as that is a big part of who I am, and the things that I found most life-giving, the things that I found most exciting, and the places where I couldn't quite put it down, is the opportunities that I've had in my time in Bolton to break new ground, to spot an opportunity and follow it down the rabbit hole, to gather some people around and say, what happens if we try this? And to try things and fail, and to try some things and it doesn't work out how I thought, but it's brilliant. And so it was now, I think, 18 months ago that I first saw this role advertised, long before I was allowed to apply, long before. But I saw it and thought, wow, that is, if I'd sat down and written, what would you like to be able to do for a living? It wouldn't have been far off this job description. Who do you think God is calling you to be as a minister? And so I got in touch and said, I'm certainly not allowed to apply, but if you don't fill the post, please bear me in mind. And and some time later now, here we are. I think the kind of the strategy from the diocese of taking seriously where is York Diocese not doing well, and putting in some strategic plans to say, let's address that, not just with goodwill and prayer, but with goodwill and prayer and planning, and put some money and some structure behind it, and say, we want to do better in these things. We want to connect better with people in their 20s and 30s and 40s. We want to be engaging with young families and young adults and helping them grow in discipleship, and we want to be allowing new worshipping communities and new churches to grow up that can be places that foster and thrive with them, and that they bloom in and grow as well. So I think the multiplier network's a great way of trying to sow into that and give towards that. And I'm itching to get there and get on.
Yeah, and you'll be joining the Multiply team, really, which is across the diocese. I think it's something like 13 or 14 people in similar positions to you in terms of roles, but spread across the whole range of different places and locations and opportunities. But working together, supporting each other as well to reach those 20s, 30s, 40s age groups, I think it is a really fantastic opportunity.
And one where hopefully a big part of pioneering is to just try things out, and then to do the kind of reflective practice, which I think probably we're all taught in ministry, but which having done youth work already, and that's been my background, this youth ministry is a reflective practice, and it's all about having to be responding to what's God doing now, what's the need now, who's here, and to try something and then be prepared to change if it's not working, or if the circumstances have changed. And so So I think that reflective practice and having the Multiply team as a reflective community where we can be sharing and holding each other accountable, but having that space to go and say, well, I wonder about this, or to say to someone else, what happened there, and what might I learn from your practice? How can we cross-pollinate in that?
Yeah, and it's it'd be great also that we've got Emma Miles,
Yes.
who is one of the lay Multiply team members, able to focus time and energy on West Hill, and that'll be a great connection, a great relationship to build on as
Definitely.
well. We've got something happening around it which is already interesting, and you'll be able to explore and discover ways of engaging with those relationships.
Absolutely. And coming alongside, I think that the other beautiful thing about the Multiply style is that it's not just saying to a pioneer or someone who's been put in that role, here you go, drop in and see what happens, but it's to come alongside a parish where there's a whole community of people who know and love Bridlington already, who are part of networks and communities already, and to be able to come and be part of that church community, without having the weight and the burden of a responsibility of caring for and leading that community, but being able to be part of it, to identify where the opportunities here, how can I be helping to train up and equip and encourage and send out people who can be leaders and planting missionary communities out of Christchurch, and what might happen that's not even about me, but which I might be able to feed into and to promote and encourage.
And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna kind of take some time as well, and you're gonna come and we're not going to want you to just kind of dive into everything and kind of get things sorted or anything. It's going to be much more. You're going to listen, you're going to pray, you're going to get to know people, aren't you? And it's have a good process of working out what God is calling you to do.
Definitely. In the kind of Fresh Expressions movement, people talk about double listening, as listening to the context and hearing really what's going on here and who is here, and listening to God, and having that two-way listening to discern where is God at work and how does that land and what might that look like, and that's something that you can't rush, but which I also think it doesn't take forever. And so someone in one of my posts I've had before said, don't overestimate what you can do in a year, but don't underestimate what you can do in 5. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what God is going to do, and what we get to stand there and go, wow, it's good. It's good, and we're really looking forward to you all landing at some point. We hope over the summer. We're still trying to work out all the details about moving and house and licensing to the role and things like that. We'll be able to tell people soon enough, we hope, a bit more about that. But it's during the summer, everyone. The likelihood is that Oli and Joe will be doing their move at the very least. So that's what we're looking for. Catch the last of that August, September weather. Play the most of the beach whilst it's not full of tourists.
Absolutely. Well, it's stunning here today, and of course you'll know it's always sunny in Bridlington.
Always. On the East Coast.
Well, thanks, Oli. It's great to be able to introduce you like this. So this video will go out on to people to watch, but also I'm sure you'll be making some appearances via Zoom as well. So we look forward to those things. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Great to talk to you.